Welcome back to Book Tea Talk, the podcast where two sisters read a book together and talk about it each week over a cup of tea. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Maddie. This week's episode is a little bit different because it's actually the second half of our Brimstone deep dive covering chapters 1 through 10.
So if you haven't already listened to the previous episode, we definitely recommend starting there first. That episode covers everything leading up to Saeris' ascension and the political setup of the vampire court as a whole.
Today, we're picking up right where we left off. As always, this episode is very spoiler heavy, so proceed with caution. And if you've read ahead in the series, please be mindful and don't spoil future events in the comments.
And before we jump back into everything, Maddie, what tea are you drinking today?
I am actually drinking Twinnings Winter Tea is what it's called. Winter Edition or something. I'm trying to drink it because winter's almost over. So
Is it the blue one?
it's the blue one. Do you have the same one?
Winter Spice. I do have that one. I put it away for next year though, because it's no longer.
I only had
Christmas.
one, so
That makes sense.
decided. And this mug is Good Morning Gorgeous, even though it's not morning. I am still drinking it. Michaela! Oh my god! Funny seeing you here. What are you drinking today?
Stop. I chose to be a little lazy because I also kind of lost track of time before we recorded. So nothing fancy at all. Just a little Yeti Arctic cup. I'm drinking iced sweet tea.
Cold tea. She is drinking cold tea. But at least it's tea.
Unlike everyone who wants to think that it's Dr. Pepper, it's definitely tea. Which is hard to believe.
I'm convinced it's Dr. Pepper.
It's definitely not.
Whatever. I'll trust you this one time.
Okay. It's my one free pass.
Yeah, literally. If you're enjoying these podcasts, make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss future episodes. We've got our tea, or one of us has our tea, the other one has their sweet tea. We've got our notes, and now let's get back to Brimstone.
Last episode, we watched Saeris step fully into the vampire court, facing those who wished she'd never been in line for the throne, navigating political pressure, and watching tradition be weaponized against her. All while Kingfisher, our guy, we love him, we know him, quietly was doing everything he could do to keep her alive.
By the time the coronation began, it's clear that it isn't about whether she deserves the crown, but whether she'll survive wearing it. After being pressured by the Lords of Midnight to drink from the living and to be taken seriously as monarch, and ultimately giving in by drinking from Fisher, the court is finally ready to recognize her rule.
So, finally satisfied, the Lords of Midnight move to crown Saeris as their next ruler, although some are reluctant and some have motives that become clear way too soon into the book. So, our lovely little old man, I'm kidding, I don't know if he's old. I'm imagining him as an old man.
Me too.
Old vampire. Zareth goes to crown Saeris, but what does he do? He pulls out a knife and he attempts to kill her, to assassinate her. However,
and she has no idea. She has no clue.
Yes. This whole time she does not know what's going on. So Kingfisher sees the attempt. He clocks it. He's like, "Not on my watch, dude." So he stops it and intervenes, but he slices him in like half with his sword in the morale. So Zareth,
I imagined it like half. Did you imagine it like half?
I did imagine it like up and down. I don't know why.
I imagined it like
like decapitated.
No, like cutting like his stomach, just like
like his torso.
But I mean, knowing Kingfisher, it might have been half.
I'm imagining half vertically.
I mean, that might be what happened.
It may not even tell us, to be honest, but that's what I pictured.
Yeah.
Taladiaus then uses abilities that he has that we don't really know about, I don't feel. Did we know about these already?
We mentioned it, but I don't think we knew about it in Brimstone yet. But we mentioned it earlier in the podcast.
Okay. So Taladiaus uses his abilities to kill. I don't know why I said that so weird, but he uses his abilities to kill other vampires that start coming up to the... I feel like this all happens around a table, but no.
What? Where does your imagination go?
I don't know. This whole coronation thing, I'm picturing, you've never seen Game of Thrones, so this isn't going to make sense to you. But I'm picturing them sitting around like this table where they're like conversing and crowning Saeris. I
Okay,
don't know.
I am picturing like a Hunger Games. You know where they were like Effie came and was like
On
speaking
a
or whatever
stage?
yeah, pretty much, but like it
Okay.
has stairs and stuff like going up. I'm imagining it's right outside of the castle and she's like at the top of the castle and there's like some stairs, not at the very top, but like right at the
Yeah.
base of the castle. And there's
Interesting.
stairs to go up and there's just a crowd of people.
But
Because
like behind her, beside her, it's just like the throne.
yeah, it's her friends, and then kind of off to the side, like in the middle of the staircase, it's the lords. So they're high up, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not as high up as her. That's how I pictured it.
I see. I see. Who knows?
I don't know.
Anyways, so other vampires start rushing to the stage or table, however you've envisioned it, and they're coming to Aerith's aid, even though
To
he's already dead.
avenge,
There you go, to avenge his murder. So Taladiaus uses his abilities to kill those vampires. Like,
and we can just quickly talk about his abilities, just in case people forgot.
I don't really know his abilities.
Oh, he can mess with any liquid that is not quicksilver or iron, I believe. The two that are
Yes.
difficult. Yeah, because he's not an alchemist, but he can mess with any other
I think
liquid,
it's just
including
Quicksilver. I think he can still mess
no,
with
it's
iron.
iron too, I thought,
No,
because
it's just Quicksilver. I remember that note
okay,
specifically.
I don't believe that. Anyways, we'll go back and check. We'll go back and look, but I'm pretty sure it's quicksilver and iron because he isn't an alchemist, but he can just do like liquids. So he boiled their blood to kill them. Yeah.
I don't fully remember that, but that sounds right. I was picturing he just like dead.
Psh.
Dead.
No, he
Yeah.
boiled their blood. Oh my god. It said that in the book.
I don't fully remember. So after this, Saeris is then labeled anathema, which I don't know if we mentioned before, but the vampire at the beginning of this book that sought out Fisher and gave him the like dire warning that the court was gonna fall with Saeris inside. Yeah, he also called Saeris anathema in that moment, which we didn't know what it meant.
Yeah, I was lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in case you were wondering, I got you. It
Thank you.
means that the person is cursed and that the gods denounce them. And then I think in this moment too, Aerith, someone explains this to Kingfisher or something. Fisher's like, "What do you mean? Like we're god bound?" And the person's like, "Not the gods of the Fae, the gods of the vampires. They denounce her." Back to the point of last episode, you were like confused on the different gods. But yeah, there's apparently gods for the vampires. And apparently
Same.
we're getting some hints that they don't see too kindly about Saeris or think too
Yeah.
kindly of Saeris.
I wonder what other gods there are in this realm. Is there like the gods of the
I don't know.
fairies, the gods of the ogres, you know what I mean?
Do
So
we even know if there's fairies and ogres in the book? That would be the
I
question.
guess so. No, they're sprites. So
True, so I guess there could
god
be.
of the sprites.
So before we've talked about how we think that the book is setting up Taladiaus to be the sketchy character, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that his action to save Saeris in this moment seems genuine, or does it like redeem him from suspicions in your eyes at all? Or like how are we feeling about that?
It's hard because yes, it looks like he's being a friend, like saving her. But it could also mean that he is just trying to save her so he can get what he wants. Like one of the other lords said that he was going to be she was going to be his puppet. And maybe he was just saving his puppet. Who
Maybe.
knows? We don't know yet. But in my opinion, I think he's a good guy. I think he's a genuine guy. I think the book is just trying to reverse psychology us right now. But
Mhm.
I mean, by the end of the book, I might get told, so who knows?
Yeah. I kinda think the same. I don't think that he'll turn out being bad, but I will say I think I would kinda eat up that plot line if he did.
Really?
I think I would like it, yeah.
I think it would just be too obvious, and I don't think that this author would be one to have something so obvious as,
Right.
like, the
No, I
big
mean,
shock.
I see what you mean, but I am just pointing it and throwing it out there. I think I would like him turning on her a little bit. I don't know why.
Okay.
Just for the plot.
Are you a Saeris hater? Do we need to, like
No, I like Saeris.
okay.
I just think that it would add, like, an interesting level to the story is all.
Hey, good talk.
With blood already spilled, aka Aerith, Saeris does something unexpected. She begins to set her expectations,
As she should.
as she
Honestly,
should.
I thought she was gonna set her expectations a long time ago. Like, I was expecting her to say it in the beginning. When
Mhm.
when that lady was saying something about her I don't know, but I was literally, like, putting the words in the book because she was saying, like, she was just a young girl, whatever. She could have easily been like, "Yeah, a young girl that murdered your lord," but she didn't. Made me mad.
She
Anyways.
does later on, though.
Yeah, but it wasn't, like, the
At least I
moment that I
think
wanted it
so.
to be. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I
they
get
were
that.
like, "I know this little girl couldn't have done it, like, no way," but she just kinda stayed quiet the whole time and was listening to Fisher's
Yeah.
mind.
I kinda think she was waiting until her crown was, like, officially on her head, though, because
Makes
up
sense
until this moment
to talk back.
exactly, it was just like, this is what's going to happen, but it has hadn't happened yet, so she really didn't have any authority to
That
start
makes
doing
sense.
that.
Yeah.
Kind of like a little bit of a gray line there.
Yeah, that makes sense. But she does establish a new structure for her court. She points out new laws that are immediately in place. Since she already has the crown on her head, the vampires have to abide by all the laws that she sets. They cannot disobey. And if they do, bad things will happen because we find out that Malcolm was the one who put that law in place that once you are the ruler, your court has to follow you no matter what. So,
Did
one
we
of
ever
the
find out
laws
what happens if they break a law?
we have no idea, but we do know that they will definitely try to find a loophole. So,
Yeah.
yeah, which sounds very Fae like. So, the first rule is kneel before her in greeting. So, they will have to kneel before her every time they greet her. She will also have protection for her mate and allies, meaning none of the court can go after her or her mate or her allies. And third, they cannot use feeders for war or cruelty. Instead of ruling through fear, she plans to rule through control, which honestly, for a group of vampires, you kind of need control. Do you agree?
I do agree with that.
Do you think banning the use of the feeders will hurt the court structure at all?
Yes. I definitely think they will because first of all, these vampires are used to using the feeders for, like, bad things and, like, attacking the Fae, and so, like, being told that they can't do that, I is definitely gonna cause a lot of issues, I think. Even if they have to obey it, they can still have, like, negative thoughts about her because of her laws, I guess, which just increases the likelihood of someone finding a loophole.
I mean, I don't know a ton about what the feeders do. I know that they like go to war and stuff, but I don't really feel like they're gonna be able to. I thought the leader controls the feeders. That's why I'm like, all the lords do
No,
too.
I feel like it gets a little murky, but I think lords and vampires can create theaters, and then I think they control the theaters that they
Mm,
create.
I
Even if
see.
they
Okay,
may still have to all follow the monarch, like, they can't maybe hurt the monarch, but maybe the person who changes the person into a theater can still have some sway in what they do. So people are sending them out to cause destruction on
Mm.
civilizations and whatnot.
Kill them and stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
this makes sense. Interesting. So, like, what would they be used for after that? Literally nothing. Okay.
But if they've been existing this way for X amount of thousands of years, Saeris coming in and changing that is obviously going to cause issues.
Some tiffs. Do you think it would be possible for someone to disobey those laws that she set in place?
Think so. I mean, I don't know how, but I think that is kind of what it's leading up to as
There's
well. Like
always
someone's
some
going
little
to break
something.
it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's a loophole in how she phrased it, like it was in book 1, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do think it will be broken.
Yeah, I agree. Even the new laws can't stop what's already spreading beyond the palace walls.
The battlefield reveals something very disturbing than the ordinary warfare that the Fae are currently used to. So I'm going to paint this scene for you. Hold in there with me just a little
Holding
bit.
in, locking in.
Good,
I
locked
am
in.
here.
So picture a frozen river at a Fae war camp, and then
Okay.
looking out across it. On one side of the war camp, we have, I believe, Ren, Fisher, and Lorith,
The pals.
the pals, the besties, the brothers. They are looking out
Wasn't Miss Girl there
across.
too?
Oh, Danya, she was there.
Danya, yeah.
I forget about her, unfortunately, because I don't like
Yeah,
her.
I do too.
So they're looking out at the frozen river, which I believe they can see the vampire city across from in some capacity.
Maybe, yeah.
Anyways, so they're used to looking out at the river, but know that if a feeder comes up to the river, it won't cross it because they can't survive the crossing of the frozen river. So they see 8 feeders standing across the river. And at first, they're not really like concerned, but then they think, well, they shouldn't be standing there because Saeris has now put in protections that they can't be used for this type of behavior. So they have no reason to be standing over there, yet they still are. And then they notice that they are moving very unnatural compared to what they have grown to expect to see from them. So eventually they start moving across the frozen river very creepily. I will add like a broken like doll is what I imagine them crossing. And like
I
they're
imagined
moving.
them like four-legged, like a
No, yeah,
dog.
me too. Yeah.
You
Like a
said like a
but like
doll.
broken. I said doll. Okay, I imagine them on their fours, but like
Okay, okay,
moving
okay.
in broken movements.
I
But
see.
like in unison
Yeah.
across the
Okay.
river. So, as the Fae warriors try to dispatch them by means of magic, they discover that the feeders are absorbing their magic and siphoning it from them. Like they are physically filling
Mm,
the siphoning of their magic. So,
yeah. This is
we
where I got
realize
lost.
you did. So,
But
we
yeah,
realize
it's not that hard anymore.
the normal ways of killing the feeders are currently failing, meaning Nimmerel, whenever it's tried to slice at the feeders, it came away with a very thick black substance that was crystallizing on the blade, and it screamed in reaction very violently. So
Yeah,
then Fisher
Kingfisher
was like,
could
I can't use
hear
that.
Nimmerel scream.
Exactly. And then the iron and silver wasn't affecting the feeders like it should, because again, Fae and vampires are can't their weakness is iron and silver, so it should be killing them. They are also absorbing the magic, like I already said. The fire is not stopping them, okay? You know stuff is bad when fire is not killing it.
Yeah.
And
Fire
then
kills everything in
it
literally
does.
any book, any movie, yeah.
And then the feeders also just don't seem to feel any pain. They're just continuing on chugging along down this river, acting like nothing is wrong. Even when their heads have been removed, the body is still alive, more or less. I mean, it can't like do much, but it's still moving. They're like still conscious in whatever capacity that means for a feeder. Anyways, all that to say, we learn that 114 soldiers died from these 8 feeders, which is astronomical amount
Insane.
compared to what they are normally seeing. We find that
Yeah.
out later on, but we're putting that in here.
Normally a soldier can kill a feeder I mean, it's especially one of them, like one on one. It's a fight, but 114 compared to 8 is normally like a piece of cake.
I
But
mean, put it in perspective. Fisher and Carrion went out on horseback to save Onyx at the beginning of the story in a
Yeah.
horde of feeders, like a lot
Mhm.
more than 8, and survived to tell the tale. They didn't fight them all,
Exactly.
but they did damage, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, very, very large number.
Just doesn't make sense.
What do you think that the feeders being able to consume magic may change about the warfare for the future?
Oh, this is hard. They're gonna have to figure out a way to fight them without using magic, but a way that is still effective in killing them.
Mhm.
Because, like, right now, they're just kind of at a loss. Like, how do you kill
Yeah.
these things? Like, they're murdering so many of their soldiers so quickly. Like, I don't know. It's gonna be very hard for sure.
I'm assuming Brimstone will come into play with that at some point in
Yeah,
time, just because it's the title
probably.
of the book.
Yeah,
But
agreed.
yeah, it's very interesting. It's kinda crazy because these are trained soldiers being taken down by these feeders. Imagine what would be if they ended up in a civilian-like village where people are not protected or not trained. Just imagine the damage that would cause.
The whole country probably just wiped out. Mhm.
Mhm, yeah.
Agreed.
In this part of the book, what did you think about the feeders? Did you think they were, like, evolving, or did you think they were being created?
I was lost. Number 1.
So I guess I shouldn't
I
ask.
I read this chapter a couple times because I was like, "Wait, what is going on?" And then the whole part about Nemeril screaming, I was like, "Wait, what?" And then I had to restart. Okay, but now that I understand, in my mind, when I first started reading it, I assumed that the lords had altered the feeders in some way that, made them like that. I assumed it was the lords, but
Like,
yeah.
to get around Saeris's law?
Correct, yeah.
That
Because
would
it
have been
technically
very
wasn't
quick actions.
feeders. Right, because it technically wasn't feeders, it was, like, a different type of
Yeah.
thing, so she could have easily or they could have gotten around it. I don't know if it would have been easy, but yeah, that's my thoughts.
I definitely thought the same, but to the same extent, like, thinking about it right now, I'm like, that is really crazy, like, a really crazy loophole to find when she just changed the law.
Yeah, that quickly.
So,
Mhm.
interesting.
Agreed.
But the truth of where these creatures come from reframes everything that we think is gonna be in the book. Because I didn't
Yeah.
see where stuff was headed.
Agreed. The feeders aren't just monsters, they are evidence of something larger at play. Loreth and Fisher bring the heads of the feeders to Saeris. Previously, Rempus mentioned that he believed Taladiaus might be controlling the new feeders, revealing that he obviously doesn't trust him. Rempus
Me
hates him.
either.
Rempus hates Taladiaus. Rempus is looking at Kingfisher like, why do you trust this guy? Like, he was besties with Malcolm. Like, what's going on? I hate him. But Kingfisher stood his ground. He kind of trusts Taladiaus. I don't think he fully trusts Taladiaus. I think there's still like a,
I think he fully trusts
do
Taladius.
you?
I
I
do.
think there's like a slight, I think he trusts him, but he always has his guard up, right? He's not gonna keep his guard down. So,
Sure, but I don't think that has anything to do with Taladius. I think that's just him as a character. But
no,
I
but
don't think that he
he would
just
put
trusts him.
he would put his guard down with his group for sure.
I guess so.
But with Taladius, I feel like there's still that little bit of like, I don't know about you kind of thing.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's
maybe.
just my opinion. Loreth straight up turns to Taladius to accuse him of the feeders, to which he says that he's never seen the likes of these before.
I
Yeah.
will say I thought that was so funny in the book when Loreth just straight up goes, "Did you do this?"
I
Like,
thought it
out
was
of
funny too.
nowhere.
Yeah, like no talking behind his back, like nothing, just straight up like, you did this and I know you did this.
Right.
Oh well. I like Lord for that. He's good
I do
for that.
too.
Because I mean I feel like we were all kind of at least
We
in
were
the
all
back of our
thinking
minds
it.
thinking it. Yeah. Might as
I
well.
mean, just because you confront him doesn't mean he's gonna tell the truth though either.
True. Very true. But what he replied was very believable. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I trusted him after he said that. I don't remember what it was, but I don't
He
remember
said
the
that he
exact.
just had never seen it before.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's like a whole paragraph that he said, and I don't know.
Mm.
I don't remember. But Carrion investigates the heads of the feeders and further discovers a few details. I was like, okay, Carrion, being smart. They're
Mhm.
not from Yvelia. They are from Zilvaren, which was crazy shocker. I
Which you
should
may
have
have forgotten that name.
huh?
I said, which the crowd may have forgotten that name, but that
Oh
is,
yeah, true.
where we'll
Saeris'
see in a minute.
hometown.
Exactly.
It's where Carrion and Saeris were for the beginning of the book.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was like, Carrion, okay. Coming with the brain. They are marked with tattoos, the same ones that Saeris has, that marks her as sterilized from the third ward.
Which we never really went over in our recap, but do you wanna tell about it or you want me to?
I mean, all we know is that because in the third ward everybody is so poor, the government sterilizes the women
Madra.
so they, well, yeah, Madra is the government. She sterilizes the women because they would rather have no babies than a bunch of babies that are poor that they can't take care of. So, yeah, and there's a little mark. I think it was like behind their ear or a tattoo or something behind
Yeah,
their
and
ear.
also it's not every woman. I forget the exact percentage, but it was
Yeah,
like 1 or like 3 in every 5 girls would be chosen to be sterilized. That way that they were still having citizens, just not in like excess.
not as many that they can't afford to feed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
Saris
Saris was
is
very proud.
sterilized.
Saris was very proud. She was very happy that she was sterilized because she was like, "I can't afford these kids."
I wouldn't say that she was proud. I think she saw it as a blessing to some extent, but I don't think that she was, like, happy about it.
Well, I mean, whenever her and
I think she
Kingfisher talked about it, she was like, "Oh, like no biggie. Like I'm sterilized." Like she's very like cool
it
about
still
it.
wasn't
Not
proud,
proud.
though.
Not proud. Maybe that was the wrong word, but
Yeah, I wouldn't I don't like that word choice.
like I don't think she's upset that she can't ever have kids. Like I don't think she ever
She
wanted
also never
kids.
expected to be in anything except for the 3rd ward.
True. Very true.
Her future was taken away from her because it wasn't likely to exist. But that doesn't mean that she was happy or complacent in it. She just saw
Yeah.
it as, "This is my future, so if this is gonna take away the brutality of what having a child would do, then that's just the way that it is."
But we've heard Kingfisher talk about how it kind of upsets him that she is sterilized, but we have not mentioned, or she has not mentioned not one time about how she's upset that she's sterilized. Like, I don't
No.
think she cares.
I just don't think she doesn't really process things. Like, we never really get lots of like,
Like
what I
detail
mean
from
is
her. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, we don't really get, like, excessive amounts of inner monologue about how she feels about certain things that are going on or
True.
not going on, or the lack of like, I'm still upset about the fact that he knew about the mating bond and then chose to not inform her completely and just expected her to be able to accept a mating bond and not have any information about that, and, like, she never processed that inner monologue either, so it's just, I
Yeah.
think, the way that she chose to write the character. But, yeah.
I mean, maybe it does have something to do with the character in general. She's like so focused on like her life and like what's happening around her that she doesn't have time to think about
She
herself.
doesn't. It's just bam,
So,
bam, 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 bam.
yeah, interesting. Well, apologies for that tangent. Back to the feeders. So, the feeders are from Zilvaren, and they have the same tattoos that Saris has that marks her as sterilized. So, meaning these are women. These are women feeders from Zilvaren. And the
The
ears of
3rd
these.
ward specifically because those are the ones that have been sterilized,
Exactly. Yeah.
not any of the other wards, it was just the 3rd ward being the most impoverished one.
Yeah. And the ears of these feeders are rounded, which means that they are not they're actually humans. So, whenever they were murdering all the feeders, they actually tied, I think it was two of them, to a
3.
tree. Two or three. They tied them to a tree because they couldn't kill them.
Or
They
was
had
it
no idea
all
how to
of
kill
them?
them.
Like, what would they have done with the rest of the bodies if not tied them all to the tree?
Yeah. So they tied him to the tree because I think they kept regenerating or something, and they just had to.
No, they just wouldn't die. They weren't, like, growing their head back, they just wouldn't die.
Yeah. I was imagining them as, like, regenerating.
No, they were just not dying, so in order to keep them in a central
Yeah,
spot where they couldn't do anything, they
they
just
had to tie them
chose
to
to
the
tie
tree.
them up to the tree.
Yeah. So they go back to the tree that they had been tied to, and they realized that they had rotted away the tree. There were black veins stretching that were just everywhere. I was imagining it as kind of just like a virus
Yeah,
that takes over the land. Like you can see the little black veins just going through the land and infecting trees and everything. They also saw that the work camp was charred and destroyed. 1,000 warriors were lost to the rot. The rot infects and spreads, and it claims vegetation and any creature living or dead. It travels over snow and scorched land. It's pretty much invincible.
and that was
And
what was coming
yeah,
out of the feeders is the rot,
exactly. And that's just devastating. Absolutely
which
devastating for the
is
people.
the go ahead.
Oh, that was it. Just absolutely devastating for everybody.
I was just gonna say the rot is the same black crystallization that was attaching itself to Nemerel when
Yeah.
Fisher tried to kill the feeders in the first place.
Which makes me think that the rot can like kill or damage Quicksilver, in my
Maybe.
opinion. Yeah. I mean, so what happens when the rot takes over all the Quicksilver and they just don't have any more Quicksilver?
Then they gotta get Brimstone.
You and this freaking we don't even know what Brimstone is yet.
I know. I know. That's why I keep saying
Funny.
it.
Who do you think is the one experimenting on the humans and turning them into these monsters?
I feel like the obvious choice is Madra and Belicon, but maybe they have the help from another god, I don't know.
Like a vampire god? That'd be crazy.
Maybe, or one of the other gods that they were trying to Zareth was trying to keep Saeris and Kingfisher from being seen
I
from.
don't think it's that. I don't think the gods would help Madra, and
That's true.
I really don't think it would be that. I think he mostly protected them just so, like, they wouldn't kill them.
You know why I think that it wouldn't be true? I think the only bad god was Zareth, and if he's not helping them do this, what other god would be?
Wait, what? Zareth? What do you mean? Bad god?
Yeah, I think he's the only,
I don't remember who that is.
he's the one been interfering with Saeris and Fisher the whole time.
No! God of Chaos? No, 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 no. He's a good god. I like him.
No, I know, but what I'm saying
We
is,
like him.
like, he's the only one that would have a bad connotation to his name. Because he's
Oh!
the god of
Okay,
chaos.
I see.
The other
I
ones
was
are like god
lost.
of peace, god of
Yes,
love, whatever, whatever, whatever.
I
So if
see,
it's
yeah.
not Zareth doing the bad behavior, why would it be the god of love,
The
the
other
god of
gods.
peace? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like the
So on the
only
same note, it could be a vampire god.
I think it would be a vampire god that is helping them. Just like
Hmm.
the god of chaos created Saeris into a creature that nobody's ever seen before,
Hmm.
the vampire gods could have done the same because they do not want Saeris ruling. Very
That
possible.
could also be a interesting discussion point on the balance of nature. You
Yeah.
know, like if you create something, there has to be something equally to
Mm,
like balance it out on the
yeah,
other side of that.
very true.
Hmm.
Very interesting to think about. Do you think it's intentional that they're coming from the third ward?
I do, especially if Madra and Belicon are behind it. Like, what other better way to send a message to Saris other than it being a human from the third ward who grew up living around and like would feel something for, you know, like feel protective of.
I kind of thought the opposite. That is a good point. But I more thought about it like, oh, there's just people that are disappearing. What other place would be okay with that other than the third ward? Because,
Oh, like just indispensable people.
yeah, because it's like, oh, like my daughter's just another mouth to feed. Oh, I can't find her. Oh, well, you know what I mean? But, like, if you were
Yeah.
going to the other wards where they are more wealthy, maybe they'll have the resources to, like, go out and try to figure out what happened to their kids or
Yeah.
their family.
It's probably a little bit of both if we're being honest.
Yeah, probably. And I'm sure it'll explain it in the book, like, why.
Mhm.
Hopefully.
We still are only, like, 100 pages in.
I know. That's funny.
For the first time, we're gonna see Saeris' inner monologue, so we're getting a shift in perspective.
Why did you yell at the mic? Just the
I don't know.
For
Point of
the first time! That's what it
in
sounded
a
like.
long time, I'll see the world. I don't know the song for
Okay,
Frozen.
just
For the
keep going.
first time in forever.
Okay.
That's the
That
face for
was
the thumbnail, by the way. That one right there.
I mean, that was definitely something. I wouldn't quit your day job, girl.
Okay, girl.
You
Okay.
definitely can't be a pop singer, that's for sure, girl.
Darn. Have to go cross that
I
off
need to
my
get you
list.
some auto-tune. Remember that fancy
Alri
dancy mic's got auto-tune built into
It's not that fancy.
Oh, I'm hilarious. Okay.
With the discovery of the Quicksilver Pool in the Black Palace, I think we've mentioned that before, Saeris agrees to return to Kalish with Fisher just for the night on the condition that he is going to start training her to really fight so that she has the strength and stamina and can hold the God Sword Solace and do some damage with it.
I don't remember if we talked about the Quicksilver Pool, did we?
I feel like we did, but we might not have.
Just in case we didn't, there is a Quicksilver Pool
It's very
there.
small,
Very
but it's enough to
tiny.
travel.
Yeah, Saris could, like, barely hear it, but she heard it. 'Cause she's good like that.
Good like that. Okay, yeah. So the Quicksilver pool that they discovered means that Saris and her allies, who are now all also equipped with Quicksilver, can quickly and safely travel and teleport between Amontreath and Kalish without doing the thing that Carrion and Fisher did at the beginning of the book and crossing the dead field with the Horde of Eaters on horseback. Now they can just bloop, bloop, and they're there. Yep. Yep. Exactly. So it is here that we see finally that Saris is struggling with the idea of friendship now that she is a vampire, which is the exact thing that the Fae have been warring with for so long and also like hate. So she's in this house of Fae, like only Fae. She's the
Wait,
only
what do
little
you mean the
vampire.
friendship part? What are you talking about? With the
I'm getting
idea of
there.
friendship? I don't
I'm getting there.
understand.
I'm
Okay.
getting there. I'm
I
playing
don't
it out
remember
for you.
that.
So she's in this house with a bunch of Fae. The
Yeah.
Fae hate vampires. So in her head, she's sitting here thinking, like, they're all being so nice to me, but I can't
Mhm.
possibly imagine how they are going to be able to love me or look at me at the same because I'm a vampire. Like, I'm the thing that they hate. You know, even though I'm not the one that has done all this damage to them and their people and their lands, I am a vampire, even if I'm only half.
Yeah, she kind of annoyed me.
With that,
Yeah, because, like, we don't get to hear anything about your other internal dialogue, like you freaking out about the mate bond, you not freaking out about, like, other
yeah.
stuff. But you're
But
worried about friendship? Girl, I don't care.
at the same time, though, maybe it's like the beginning steps to processing, you
Okay.
know? In her head, she feels somewhat kind of safe now that she set the rules at the castle. She's
True.
able to teleport or cross the gate. So she's having like a little bit of a downtime moment. So maybe that's
Mhm.
why she's like having a tiny bit of a reflection. I hope we get continue to get more reflections because I have a lot of questions from the first book about like with her.
I agree.
So we'll see.
Yeah, we
But
better.
yeah, she's struggling with the idea of the friendship and with the people that she knows has come to know and love. Here we also learn that Everlayne, who is Kingfisher's sister, she's still in an unwoken slumber from healing from Malcolm's attack on her. And Renfis, I think it was Renfis suggests that maybe Saris go and like sit with her. Maybe hearing her voice will wake her up.
I think that was
Yada yada yada.
the healer that said that.
Oh, Taylana, I think you're right. Taylana might
Yeah.
have said that. Yeah.
Are we gonna mention Dela? What's her name? Delana? The girl we don't like.
Taylana?
Talana's
Danya?
not the Danya! We don't like Danya. Okay. Are we gonna mention what she says about, what's his name?
Oh, Garion?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't put that in the notes,
You didn't put that
actually.
in? Oh
I
my gosh,
didn't.
I was shocked. I was
We'll tell the
shocked.
crowd about it. Tell the class about it real quick.
I thought it was crazy. So Danya was talking to
Wait, maybe hold
Saeris.
on. Let me.
I'll just say it real quick. Danya was
No,
talking to Saeris.
okay.
No, I'll just do it. While I'm on the subject. Danya was talking to Saeris, and she's like, Saeris, like, whatever, like, I still hate you, but, like, where's your friend, Carrion? And then, Saeris was like, Carrion? Like, why do you care where Carrion is? And she was like, oh, I just wondering where he is. And she was like, he's at the baths. And then she's like, oh, I'll go find him. Like, does she like him? Does she not like him? And then,
She may not. She's definitely infatuated.
yeah, I think she likes him. And then when he came back, they were kind of like flirting a little bit. So I thought that was very interesting. What do you think about it? It's going to be some crazy kids. They're going to be very
I
interesting.
don't really have any thoughts on it. I thought it was funny, though.
I think it's a good little mix-up. It's not something I was expecting.
Yeah, I wasn't either. It made me like Danya a little, I guess, because she had something other
Yeah, a
than
little
hate.
bit.
So that happened at dinner. And so now we're at dinner among Kingfisher's closest allies. So we have the Lupo Proelia, which is, all of his warrior
Lupoprolia,
besties. Yep,
the group
Saeris visibly
clan.
reacts to being referred to as Lady of College by the little servant sprite
Archer.
Archer. And yeah,
The only name I remember, literally.
first of all, I think it was annoying that she reacted so bad. Like, babe, what did you expect?
She's like, I'm not Lady of College. I don't even go here. I'm a vampire.
Right. And what do you expect? You're like mated to the guy of the Lord of College. Like,
Yeah,
huh?
like it'd be different if like his mom was alive, but like his
But
mom is
not.
dead.
He's like literally the Lord of College. Like, they call him that in the first book.
Yeah.
Where did you see this playing out? Like,
Yeah,
anyways.
she's dumb.
It does highlight how quickly her titles and identity have shifted from being the rat in the third ward to Lady of College in a Fae city.
Yeah.
Anyways,
She
she's
was annoying me
struggling
with
with this
that, too.
identity. Yeah.
Girl, like just pick it up and move on. Like we get it.
But it does highlight the fact, like you said earlier, she hasn't had time to process literally anything since the time that she got kicked out of Zilvaren.
Yeah, but this is what she's processing. Like there's feeders out here rotting the city. Like focus on that.
Processing is a journey, okay?
I can see that.
Girl, we're gonna fight.
Probably.
So a discussion pops up.
Yeah.
This one did make me mad.
Yeah, we'll talk about why that made us mad.
So Archer or somebody makes the comment about, Saeris and Kingfisher gonna potentially be getting married.
And Archer was
Right?
thrilled. He was so excited. It's like, I'll start planning right now.
No, literally. He was excited. Danya was excited. Renfis was excited. Lorth was excited. Like, everybody was excited and in on this, joking around, having fun. Like, oh my God, it's something fun and exciting to look forward to, and like a moment of despair with all the feeders and vampire stuff going on. Like, girl, let everyone have some fun, please.
Yeah.
Anyways, Saeris and Kingfisher or one of them say, oh, we're not getting married. Like, they haven't had time to even discuss the possibility of this. Like, they're not getting married.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone else in the room is like, well, why not? Like, you're mated, you're godbound. Why wouldn't you want to go through the process of getting married? Like, it's special, it's sacred, etc.,
Like why
etc.
wouldn't you?
And like, honestly, why wouldn't she? It's Kingfisher. Hello.
Yeah, and like, I mean, what's it to her? You know what I mean?
Like, you're mated. What does it
Yeah,
mean?
it's not that big of a deal.
For real. Anyways.
I feel like mated is like
Later.
a more bigger thing than it is to be married. A marriage is just marriage.
It is, yeah. So later in private, and we're going to circle back to this later on, so don't get too harped on it right now.
Oh, I'm getting
Later,
harped. I'm getting harped, okay?
Kingfisher admits to Saeris that he would marry her, but he can't because in the Fae culture, when they get married, they share their true name with each other. It's a tradition. So basically, the Fae get told their real name, but they're never supposed to give their real name out to other people because they can use it against them. And so Kingfisher is not Kingfisher's real name. Like, it's just the name he tells everybody.
So they're supposed to get their
And
real name at 14, and
yes.
Kingfisher's mom died before he was 14.
And his father had already fled to Zilvaren with Carrion at the time that he was 14 as well. So Kingfisher tells Saeris he can't get married to her because he doesn't know his real name, therefore he can't share it in the ceremony as is tradition, therefore they can't have a marriage. Do you think Saeris and Kingfisher are moving towards stability in their relationship, or do you think that things will kind of unravel under the weight of everything that's A, unsaid, and B, just happening in general?
You shouldn't have asked me this. Why did you ask me this question? No. I think they're going to crash and burn. It's what it's going towards. I mean,
At least temporarily.
I don't think they're going to like crash and burn, but I think a big argument is going to happen or something is going to happen and truths are going to be. I think it's the lack of honesty for me.
Or transparency.
Transparency is a good word for it. It's just there's a lot of things unsaid. I feel like she's not opening up to him about her struggles. He's not opening up to her about certain things. So
Or just
something's gonna
omitting
happen.
certain truths,
Details, yeah. Or blatantly
information.
lying and saying you don't know something that you do know. Anyways.
But honestly, I also think they're gonna have a moment where they, like, crash out. And I think, honestly, it needs to happen because maybe that's what it takes for her to be able to speak
Get stronger.
for herself. Not for herself necessarily, but, like, express the things that she's feeling.
Well, she
Because I don't
needs
think she's
to
told him that she's feeling, outcasted by the group or,
I feel like
like,
that's not that important
obviously
for her
be a
to
weight.
share, but she needs to
But
set
it's
the
a
tone and be
start.
like, "Stop lying to me, or I will remove our wedding godmate bond, whatever the crap."
She doesn't know that he's lying, and he may not be lying, but we'll get back to it.
Okay.
So while Saris is trying to understand who she has now become and what kind of future she's even going to be able to have, there is still something unresolved that's hanging over her. Because while Saris is awake,
Mm.
choosing and becoming a person, a vampire, alive, Everlayne is still asleep.
Yeah. And this was a very unsettling scene in these chapters. This
It's a
was
little
one of the bigger
eerie.
ones. Yeah, I was kind of freaked out. So, Saris visits the sleeping body of Everlane. The Quicksilver starts talking to her and goes, "She hears you. She hears you. She feels you. She feels you. Open the gate. Open the gate."
Bro, that
All
was really accurate.
all creepily, like they always talk a million times. Anyways, so she notices that Everlane is wearing Quicksilver earrings, and she notes that it's odd. It's kind of odd that she's wearing Quicksilver earrings. Like, for what? She tells the Quicksilver, "You aren't supposed to be here. Like, why are you here?" And the Quicksilver replies, "We are. We are. Always have been. Always have been." Creepily. Every time she talks
I'm
to the
loving it.
Quicksilver, I get scared. Like, it's so creepy every time.
Especially if you've heard, like, listen to the audiobook for
Yes.
Quicksilver, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, because it's like a man and a woman's voice together. It's like, oh, creepy.
Yeah, it's like 3 different voice tones,
Yeah,
and they
so
repeat
weird.
it in unison multiple times.
So Saris reaches for the Quicksilver and it instantly turns to liquid. Like, okay, girl, why couldn't you have done that for the past 10 swords that you conjured? But whatever. After the Quicksilver touches Saris and Lane, Everlane finally wakes up. And I was like, oh my god, she woke her. I was so excited.
Me too.
I was thrilled.
Was like, that was easy.
Yeah, right? Like, I was like, I thought it'd be a little bit more than that. But, yeah, no, it's kind of odd. She began speaking out loud, but it wasn't her voice. Like, it was a creepy, creepy voice. So, the creepy voice that is speaking through Everlayne says that Saeris is finally there, and she's been waiting a long time to speak with her. The voice confirms that Everlayne is not there, and it's unsure if she will ever return because she's not very strong and she's still sleeping. The voice,
But what we do know.
yeah, what we do know, the voice belongs to Edina. Whenever this was going on, did you know who Edina was, or were you lost?
I was lost up until the point where it becomes obvious.
So I knew pretty much right away. Like I was like, oh, it's gotta be his mom.
But also, Edna?
Yeah, but it's like a woman's, and I was like, what other woman would be
No,
speaking?
like, you say Edna, I say Edina. There's an I in there.
The voice belongs to Edina. I pretty much knew right away what was going on, but I thought this was very interesting. So apparently, Edina has waited centuries for Sarah. She's been wanting to speak to her for a long, long time. Everlayne is in a shadow that Edina cannot see. So Edina cannot speak to Everlayne or talk to her. I think maybe that means Everlayne might come back to life, hopefully, if she's not in the same realm that Edina is. I don't know, that might be wishful thinking, but hopefully. I don't know. But Edina tells Saeris to go to the library and find a book. It's a small but thick book, and it has a butterfly on it, and it's hidden among the stars. And she's kind of talking in riddles, like it's kind of confusing what she's saying, and she's not really getting to the point. She's kind of talking around what she actually wants to say. And she's also gasping a lot, so it's broken words. And she also mentions the rot and tells Saeris that she must find the book in order to stop the rot, or the decay will spread until it swallows the realm and millions more with it. I was like, finally, we get some freaking solutions. Like, finally, somebody's coming up with a solution. Saeris
Not
is over
really a
here just.
solution.
Well, I mean, Saeris is just over here worried what everybody thinks of her. Like, the voice, or Edina, tells Saeris that she must not tell Kingfisher about it. And to make
She
sure
doesn't say Kingfisher, though. She says you must not tell him about it.
Pretty sure she said don't tell
No,
Kingfisher.
because at this point, we still don't know who it is. She literally just says, you must not tell him, but make sure he knows how much I loved him and that I would do it all again. That's what she says. It's inferred, but it's not explicitly stated.
Okay. I don't know what that has to do with anything. Anyways,
because at this point, we still don't know who she is in this point of the story.
This is where we find out for sure.
This is where we find out who she is, right. But when she's saying this, we do not know.
Okay, I get what you're saying. So she tells Saeris not to tell him and just to tell him that she loves him, whatever. But I thought it was very interesting that she doesn't want him to know about the book. Very weird.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very weird.
And also a butterfly, like the cover on Quicksilver, does it have to do with the butterfly, the O'Shaleth thing?
Osha.
Osha was the nickname, but I think
the
butterfly was
like
O'Shaleth. So I wonder if it's a same type of butterfly on this cover of the book.
Interesting. I didn't even think about that. That's a good theory.
It's the only thing that I thought about when it said butterfly.
So Edina lastly tells her that Saeris must seal her alchemist runes. The tattoos that she has on her body, she has to seal them. And Saeris didn't know that they needed to be sealed. She was like, okay, cool.
Also doesn't know how to seal them. Just being told that they need to be sealed. Literally, Edina was like, you haven't sealed them yet? Like, what are you doing? You need to do that now.
Yeah. So that's just something else that needs to happen, as well as the book. So, yeah. But I thought it was very interesting.
Add to the to-do list.
Yeah, literally. I thought it was interesting that she didn't want him to, or her to tell Kingfisher about it. I don't know how I feel about that. Why do you think she doesn't want Saeris to tell Kingfisher about it? What are your thoughts?
I have no idea, honestly.
I don't know.
But okay, I will say too, I forgot I didn't have the whole name thing in this conversation because we brought it up in our Quicksilver recap.
What name thing?
The fact that she told through Morel that he knows his name.
Yeah, I
I
knew this
forgot
too.
that was in
That's
the
why I was
Quicksilver recap.
confused what you're
That's my
talking about.
bad. That's my bad. So anyways, in this point, we'll just add it to the list of things that we don't know because we also found out in the Kingfisher POV chapters in Quicksilver that Morel, Edina through Morel told Kingfisher that he must never give up his name because it would be like the death of him or whatever. So previous conversations, we do know that he knows his name, or she at
His
least
mom
thinks he
wouldn't have
knows his
said
name.
that.
So why is he's still saying to Saeris that he doesn't? So why are we not telling Fisher about the book? Like, why is there so many secrets?
Right. Exactly. And why is his mom wanting them to keep so many secrets from each other? I don't know. Just kind of odd.
Exactly. It's very odd.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of with the whole book situation is that maybe it's going to put her at risk, or maybe it's going to hurt her in some way. And she knows that Kingfisher is going to try to stop her from doing something. That is my only, like, thought process. But I don't know.
Mhm.
And Kingfisher did hear Saeris calling his mother's name, and he was like, "Why are you calling my mom's name?" I believe that she told him about talking to his mom, but she didn't tell him about the book because that was the only part that she
Yes.
specifically told him not to
Mhm.
tell her, or
Yeah.
told her not to tell him. Yeah. Mhm. Do you think Everlayne will ever wake up from her slumber? I have a theory.
I I love tragedy, so I kind of hope she doesn't. That's so bad of me to
Okay.
say. What is your
I
theory?
have a theory. I feel like Saris's brother is gonna end up with Everlane, and I think it's gonna be like a whole like Snow White situation. It's
You
gonna
mean
save
Sleeping
her.
Beauty?
Yeah, that.
Says the girl who has never watched a single Disney movie.
That is a lie. I love Disney. I saw Tangled the other day.
Okay, well, at the time that I moved out of the house, you hadn't watched a single Disney movie because
No,
you
no,
hated
no.
movies.
I had seen the ones that I liked growing up, and that was it. I'd watched like top 5, and
I
that was it.
literally sat down in my room one day.
Because I hadn't
Tangent,
seen
that's
the
so off
older
topic.
Disney movie, like, I'd never seen
Exactly.
Tarzan, I'd never seen Aladdin, I'd never
Have you
seen any
still
of
never seen them?
those. No. But now that I'm playing Disney Dreamlight Valley, I think I'm gonna actually just, like,
Honestly, how are you playing Disney Dreamlight Valley and you still haven't watched the classic Disney movies? That's a feels a little
go.
archaic.
I have 1 door left. I love it. I just
You are
unlocked the Mad
literally
Hatter.
insane.
Okay,
Crazy.
good talk.
I want to know from you if you think Edina will be an ally or not.
I think, of course, she's an ally, like, she's not going to betray her son in any way. I just think the way she's going about it might not be my favorite. So
Mhm.
maybe but I mean, she's on the other side. Like, she's dead. So she
Is
probably
she dead?
knows. Okay, anyways, she probably knows some things that others don't, and she might know how things are going to go if, she tells Kingfisher certain things, or you know what I mean? So she might be like one of the gods, like trying to play their fate without really telling them, which is kind of messed up. I
It
don't
is
know.
kind of
What do you
messed
think?
up. I think she'll be an ally, like you said, but I also kind of don't think that she's dead.
Okay,
Like, I feel like she's dead, but like
that's an opinion.
necromancy stuff. I don't know.
Okay, all right. Moving on. That's odd. Well, from here, the scope of the story expands beyond kingdoms.
So the stakes escalate very greatly, very largely. Saeris and Fisher finally decide to tell their entire group about Saris's previous encounter with Zareth in the realm at the end of Quicksilver. So they
Yeah,
tell the group about the tree and the warning that Zareth
finally.
told Saeris, how each leaf represented a realm that was occupied by countless living beings, and that the leaves that had fallen were infected by a rot that was spreading throughout the universe, which means the end of everything, the end of all the realms, and how the other gods wanted to wipe the slate clean and start over and rebuild the universe from scratch. And Zareth refused this, and then Saeris and Fisher needed to find a way to fix it or everything would be lost. So the
Yeah, and
group
I was
has
kind
a
of confused by
debate.
this. I was kind of confused by
What?
this because I just assumed that she had told everybody, but I guess she
It makes
only
sense that
told
they didn't,
Kingfisher.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get it, but it's difference.
It is interesting because they told everyone they were God bound, but not that they had a meeting with the god.
Exactly. Pretty weird.
I don't know. And then we also get a weird debate from the group on Carrion's true age and
Hmm.
how he is actually older than they are, which I don't really see the importance of putting that in the book, but that was in there, so maybe it plays a part later on. Not quite sure.
Probably.
And Fisher explains that he believes the gods interfered when Fisher's father took Carrion through the Quicksilver to flee Yvelia when Bellicon took over the crown. He also explains that when the gods took him at the Ajun gate, he stood with Bal and Mithin in the middle of a field of swaying tall grass, where he saw two figures on a hill in the distance, Zareth and the wounded woman, which if you'll remember previously, is actually Saeris, and that was nearly 1,000 years ago. And
I think
Saeris is
it's so
obviously not.
crazy.
I did too. I was like, what? But like Saeris is obviously not 1,000 years old. So it's here that we learned that time passes differently in the realm of the
Mhm.
gods, which is why they were
Timelines
having
are
the
weird.
debate on
Mhm.
Carrion's age. So here we are finally going to circle back to the missing piece that keeps resurfacing. We haven't really mentioned it here, but it gets brought up many, 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 many times in the chapters. And if you didn't read the Quicksilver Kingfisher POV chapters, you might not know who this person is. But we'll get there.
Yes, we will get there. Every major conflict seems to circle back to one name: Foley. Throughout all these chapters, Loreth and Fisher are looking for someone named Foley. Foley was a member of the Fae who was lost at Ajun City. So what had happened was he had been with Kingfisher's group, or Lupa Prolia, and he had fallen from a great height into a group of feeders where he was found by Taladiaus. And this was during their fight with the dragon. It says this during the bonus chapters of Quicksilver. So we didn't know this at the time, but Taladiaus turned Foley into a vampire because he knew he meant something to Fisher. So Taladiaus was writing for Fisher even back in the day. So that might be why Fisher trusts him so much.
It
But
definitely is.
yeah, it's gotta be. But by the morning, he had fled and had never been seen again. So Foley's just like, poof, we have no idea where he is. And Foley, his grandfather, had actually been one of the last alchemists. And that kind of makes him very important because, with Saeris being an alchemist, they don't know what they're doing. They don't have any
And there
books or
is no
anything.
other alchemists to learn from.
Exactly. It's kind of just a very difficult situation. But Ren doesn't believe that Foley will still be the same person because they knew him 100 years ago, and he's a vampire now. Or is he a feeder? No, he's a vampire because
He's a
Taladius can.
vampire because
Yeah,
Taladius turned him. But they don't know
exactly.
if he's a
So
good vampire, if he's a bad vampire.
most
It also
vampires are bad.
says
Like Taladius is the only one that we know that is not bad.
it also says that they've been trying to contact this guy for quite a while.
Many
Like they've been
years
sending him letters and like just trying to
and no
like get in touch with
response.
him and he's never responded or anything.
Exactly. They're specifically looking for him because of the knowledge with Saeris, but we will see. The group discusses the need for new relics now more than ever in case they have to evacuate Yvelia from the rot and go to a brand new realm. So it might be important to have multiple alchemists that are able to forge weapons for them.
We don't know if Foley is an alchemist. They're just hoping that he has
He has
knowledge
information.
from his grandfather that can be used to help Saeris.
And I don't think he would be an alchemist since he's a full vampire. I don't think that is,
Might be.
even if he
It's a
was.
good time to bring up, too. One of the last meetings I think we got with Zareth, he told Saeris that there are other alchemists back in Zilvaren, like even in the third ward that we
Yeah,
don't know about. That there's, alchemists in Yvelia and et cetera, et cetera. And like there's just we don't know where they are.
exactly. Hidden. Very interesting. They also talk about needing more silver than what they actually have access to. And Carrion says he needs to go with Fisher.
It was a random outburst. Carrion goes, I need to go with Fisher. And everyone's like, what do you mean you need to go with Fisher?
Mhm.
And he's like, I know Fisher's going to Zilvaren.
He knew Fisher is going to Zilvaren to access the new feeder situation, get Silver, and possibly fetch Hayden. With everything going on, I believe Saeris and Fisher are very scared for Hayden and want to make sure that he's safe. So they are going to fetch him as well, which I am finally excited to see Hayden because we haven't seen him since literally the first chapter.
Can I ask you a quick question about Hayden?
Yeah.
Do you think that, like, we don't know how far the vampire thing goes. Do you think it's gonna be hard for, like, Saeris to be around Hayden now that she's half fae, half vampire? Like, do you think that vampires have a taste for human blood? And then it might be difficult? I mean, that's a traditional vampire,
Uh,
like, aesthetic, so I don't know.
that's a good thought, but I mean, they also have blood, so I think it'll be about the same, in my opinion. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
It was just a good
in
thing
my
I thought
opinion, I
about
think
the
it'll
other
be about
day.
the same. Yeah, that's an interesting thought. What role do you think Foley will be for the group? Do you think he'll be an ally? Do you think he'll be a liability?
I feel like he'll be an ally. But I
Yeah.
think when they maybe first discover him, like, maybe he'll be a little out of whack and they have to,
Mhm.
like, get through to him type thing.
Mhm.
I don't know. What do
Oh,
you think?
yeah. I think he'll be an ally, but I think that it might be difficult at first. It might be like having to get through that tough skin, I think,
Like,
you
hard
know?
feelings,
Yeah, for sure. I think they're gonna have a hard time trusting him, especially at first, because, like, why did he
especially,
ignore
like,
all the
the
calls?
other, like, Renthis and Lorith and etcetera, etcetera.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so to wrap up today's episode, chapters 1 through 10 of Brimstone feel like a reset and an escalation all at the same time. We have a new political structure forming around Saeris, which we kind of got into more last episode, but also we're immediately shown how fragile that the power that she's been
Yeah,
given really is.
yeah, exactly. Between the blood court and the evolving feeders, the rot spreading across realms, and the gods actively interfering, it feels like every decision Saris and Kingfisher make is being watched, weighed, and possibly twisted.
This episode covered a lot of ground, and we saw Sarah step fully into leadership, not because she wants power, but because she's trying to prevent something far worse.
Thank you all so much for hanging out with us today on Book Tea Talk. We may be slowing down our reading a little bit just due to college classes, work schedules, and things like that. So next week, we'll actually be continuing our Brimstone deep dive with chapters 11 through 16. So read along if you want to.
And until then, make sure you're following us at Book Tea Talk across all platforms for updates, bonus clips, and episode discussions. And if you have thoughts or theories from today's episode, we would love to hear them in the comment section below. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye!